Okay, good afternoon again. So we continue with the microscopic work. We have 3 slides. Let's quickly review it. The first is from the alien aquarium. It's prepared about two months ago from like a couple of spoons from the original the original aquarium that was developed in not in airtight environment was exposed to oxygen, but what I call the alien aquarium is actually like a gem jar, airtight, with originally only a couple of spoons from this water that contained life forms and neos, and a lot of paraffin, like light paraffin, and also linseed oil and beeswax, and nothing really that like that even remotely I would say that you could find in like biological terrariums or aquariums. So let's see, what developed inside of it. Certainly we shouldn't see like many life forms. Again, not because it's not conducted to life. Again, we deal with synthetic life forms. They do not need, they require like the material that, carbon-based material. But from experience, and it's also supported like in the previous video that I was just recorded, that when there is no oxygen, the diversity of the life forms is much smaller, and also the quantity is much smaller, and their average size is much smaller. But still, not all of these synthetic life forms require oxygen. This is certain. You see many like little rocks. I don't know what's their origin. This is a life form, interesting. So we see many rocks, and actually not a lot of neros, maybe smaller ones that need like more zoom, like maybe we magnified to search for specific neros, because we see many rocks, but not almost no life forms. So let's close the window just so we don't want no noise from the nice neighbors. Okay. I see many things that I cannot really identify, I admit. I mean, not everything that I see I can identify. Many round shapes, I find it hard to distinguish between rocks and neros, I must admit. I am not certain. There are many small rocks in here and it's difficult to actually identify like the neros here. Maybe there aren't that many. Maybe they didn't have anything to eat. I don't know. Okay, so that's it. I don't have like very strong conclusions from this one. Maybe we should use the zoom in just for the to feel the slide. Not sure what we actually see here. Many round shapes that I'm not sure what are they. We see flow that of course is typical to newly created slides, but I don't see really interesting stuff here. So this certainly looks like a very small Nero. Okay, so we have Neros in here, but I and another one, but difficult to say. It's difficult. We didn't see like even remotely like big ones as we've seen before, and again, it's probably because they didn't have anything to eat. This is a nice one actually, and you see the Stargate property, which is very nice. Let's zoom in on it. Nice. Really nice. Okay, so now we should take a look at very quickly on two slides from the Crucible, and this is kind of like I would say it's kind of like a commercial in the future when I will be out of the prison. It will have like a commercial importance because right after that we will actually take material from this Crucible and put it in 40 pods, which will be the basis of 2 new starships that will be made of clay, a little bit different design and smaller, but still 40 pods with relatively a ton of material from the Crucible. So these samples will actually, if they actually contain heroes, and I'm not certain, we need to actually check it. It's kind of like a proof for the buyer, for future buyer, that they buy like starships with that contain each contains 20 clay pods that with a kind of like a spoonful of 20 spoonfuls of a material that statistically should contain the same amount of Neros like the ones that we see now in these slides. So one was taken from the upper layers and one was taken from the bottom ones. There's a very interesting shape, but I don't know if it would be tempted to take it too much under the microscope. You see the one that's like a fly that is standing on a rock. But let's continue with the plan and watch those 2 slides. And if I'll have like the energy and inclination, we can take like more samples from this Crucible. So we start with a very thin layer of material that was wiped from the toilet paper that is abundant on the top layers of the Crucible where it actually was burned. It was the burned material. So I took like toilet paper from here and just wiped the slide with it. So there should be like a thin amount of material, mostly oil, from this kind of burned toilet paper. This is a disgusting life form. Certainly one that I mean, has very strong fire resistance. After all the fire that I mean, that it's sustained. This is a very nice Neo, and all sort of life form like in its vicinity, which is typical for feeding Neos. What we actually see here is most certainly a Neo that is feeding on life forms. I mean, this is my interpretation, and we also see the yellow belly, which is typical to feeding Neos. Yes, he is chewing on those synthetic life forms. They like to eat not only biological life forms, but certainly synthetic ones and even demons. These are all demons, and I would say fierce demons, because, as I said, this is after several burning of the Crucible, and of even like very long ones that took hours, like with the hookah, with the hookah charcoals. So this Neo is chewing on disgusting life forms that are demons from hell. And this one is another one that is doing the same. So yeah, they are feasting on those. Oh my God! So it's like a jungle from hell, with tremendous amount of like disgusting life forms. Pretty big one. This one is huge. This is of the sausage type, like rabies or leprosy, but of course, I mean, totally synthetic and resistant to fire. So we see more and more, of the same. So this is certainly a feeding ground for Neos, pretty large ones and good-looking ones that are filled with the yellow belly, and they are eating, they are gnawing, they are chewing on these leprosy or rabies synthetic microbes of the demonic type, of the fire-resistant type. And another one. So wow, very nice. Very nice. I mean, just kind of like, initial interpretation of what we see here. Of course, we need more, examinations to actually see if it's true. But, shoot from the, like a quick draw would be to say that the abundance of life forms is due to the fact that it was taken from, it's wiped from the top layers, from the burned toilet and cotton. So what actually we see here is life forms that were, of course, they were burned. Even very heavily burned, but they have like oil layer that protects it from oxygen. So that's why we see that, because if there is too much oxygen, we don't see many life forms. So the oil layer protected them from the oxygen, but the fact that they are, they were wiped from this material means that they had the most energy, I think, because mostly what is burned is what's on the surface or close to the surface, not the oil that is in the depths. Of course so. So what we see here is both life forms and Neos that were very close to the fire. And evidently it affected them in a beneficial way, because the Neos are consistently huge ones and healthy ones, and the life forms are very big ones and disgusting ones and fire resistant, and the Neos are feeding on them. And we have many of these, actually, many Neos. Wow, I don't remember like a slide with so many demonstratively. These are Neos. They have all the characteristics, and they are very big ones, and we see ton of them. This is it means that the oil from the toilet paper, like the burnt paper, is very rich in Neos and in life forms, and this is actually what you will get inside most of the material that I place inside the spaceship is actually this material from the top layer from the toilet paper. This is also true for the last two starships, so this is also correct for these starships as well. So buyers should be, it's recommended for any future buyer, because these starships will contain 20 pods with ton of demons and ton of huge Neos growing on these demons and chewing on them. Very interesting. Disgusting life forms. like fire-resistant snakes. Snakes from hell. I mean, if I would have been like in a poetic mood, I would say that this sample is a good representation of the things that are happening in Israel. I mean, snakes from hell and robots from another planet. It's interesting. I mean, what is the meaning of this kind of like a, because you see the same, I mean, pattern again and again of kind of like a sunny side up, like, I mean, you know, fried egg, like, I mean, like kind of like, I mean, circular shape that is white, and inside of it another like yellow smaller circle. And interestingly, it's interesting. I mean, what does it mean? Because you see it again and again, so it probably means something. I cannot say why. This is of course a Neo, but I don't. And these two Neos. I mean, the eight. This is very typical, and we've seen it a lot in the past. Like the kind of like in the eight form, like the two that are adjacent to each other. This is a huge life form, disgusting one. So it's less clear what we see here. There are certainly many Neos here, but they are forming all sorts of shapes that I'm not really understand what it means. Maybe something in the symbolic language, but maybe, I mean, something that I'm such a beginner in the symbolic language, and there's so much to learn. And like after almost 2 years, I mean, I've only like done the first steps, but I mean, they were incredibly important. So I'm happy with the assistance that I received from God to learn this very difficult subject. And of course, hopefully I will continue to study it in the future, because there is so much to learn. Like I feel like I just, just studied the first, like, the first chapter in like a huge book. So these are two Neos, and they are feeding on life forms. Very interesting. Okay, so this is the end of the slide. Certainly a very, very successful slide. That, I mean, we've seen huge life forms, huge Neos, and a great quantity of them, and they're feeding on these life forms. And again, it's, I mean, another proof if we needed that, I mean, that the Crucible is a great like way to actually energize the Neos, and especially probably the ones that are on the top are the ones that are getting the most energy, which I mean, makes sense, because I mean, that's where the fire is, like on the top, not on the bottom layers. But it is also demonstrated by by this microscopic sample. So now we will take a look at a more denser sample from the same Crucible that were taken from the deeper layers. So when the mixture, I mean, when the sample is thick, you see this kind of like, I mean, the shining effect, like you see like diamonds that are shining. It's nice. But on the other hand, when it's too thick, I mean, many times, I mean, you just can't see anything because there is too much material, and sometimes it's difficult to focus. So there are, I mean, advantages and disadvantages to taking like thick samples. Mostly, I mean, I think according to the theory, you shouldn't take like thick samples. I mean, according to regular laboratory practices in microbiology, I mean, you should take very thin samples, but sometimes thick samples also have like advantages. But generally, you should take thin ones because it's difficult to focus on the thick ones. That's what I think. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So we've seen Neos, but not as much until now, not as many as we've seen before. And we've seen life forms. And actually, it's just difficult to, I mean, there's too much material. I've placed too much material. So it's difficult to see what actually we see here. I mean, difficult to identify things. There are things that look like Neros, certainly, but difficult to identify them. Again, I mean, for the commercial purposes, like for the advertisement, I mean, most, if not all, the pods, like for the Starship, this is true for the two that I will create now, and the two that I already created with things from the, I mean, the ones that I already created with things from the Crucible, like one or two, I don't remember, but it's documented anyway. At least one, if not the two that are condensing from the Crucible. I've taken things only from the top layer because, I mean, it's much more convenient to take things from the top. And also, I wanted to reduce the number, like the quantity of the burned paper, like on top. So I'll have more place like for new threads and cotton for the fire. All of this, of course, is like good news from the buyer's perspective that probably requires as many Neros as possible and bigger ones. So this sample is just, I mean, it's too thick to really understand what's going on. We certainly see Neros, but we didn't see rocks, but we don't see many life forms. We see some life forms, but not many. And we just, I mean, most of it is just, I mean, difficult to identify because of the thickness of the samples. The sample. Certainly we see Neros, but I mean, they are kind of like the shining diamonds through the heavy mixture. This is a nice life forms, like nice of the sausage type. So I see more life forms, and so not this. I mean, just kind of like a lesson not to create too much. This is a very nice one, big one. Maybe zoom in on it. The lesson that not to put too much material because it makes. I mean, what's nice is that you can see like the diamond effect, like the Stargate effect of the shining white, like that. I mean, bursts through the darker like mixture of like the which is very impressive. I mean, certainly it's impressive if it's a big Nero, but even with small ones, it's impressive. But it's difficult to focus, and there is too much mess. So, as I said, I mean, the standard procedure is to take like thinner samples, and that's what I will try to do. Like as a reminder for myself, not to put too much material on the sample. This is certainly a Nero with a Stargate, like characteristics. Let's zoom even more. We cannot see much. Okay, so not much to see. Okay, so less interesting than the one before, and we should now, what I'll do now is prepare 40 pods and start to fill it with material from the top. And when I'm done, I will start the new robot kind of like because it's difficult to speak while you do it because kind of like you need precision in order not for all the stuff not to be like to spread all around the room. So when I'm done like preparing the 40 pods, I will wrap these pods with clay, and this I will do it while I'm recording the last chapter of the robot series that will in which I will speak about a little bit about the later part of the history of the Titan subjugation, but really, I mean, top level history because it's not an historical video. it's kind of like an introductory video to things that I've already spoken about, and also I'll answer the question regarding the things that are left open, like what the Israelis have done when there were less and less males to be captured, like less and less male slaves to be captured in Venus, and what kind of sexual acts were actually, what kind of sexuality some misguided and stupid and evil and I guess horny, even though it's not their fault. It's natural to be horny when you are deprived of sex, but the problem is not that they were horny titans. The problem is, that they were completely irresponsible, and this irresponsibility still continues. So what kind of sexual acts they allow themselves, and what's the problem with what they've done, and in general, what's the problem with the Venusian sexuality, which is also true even more for cherubs, like for my own self. Like, not trouble inherently, but what's the problem when they do it like on another planet? It's only problem when it's done like in interplanetary context. If there wasn't like, if the two planets were not, if there wasn't like the invasions, of the Israelis and other nations, there wasn't the problem. But what now is actually the problem. So we'll speak about it in this video, which I'll actually do it like while I create the pods, the clay pods. But first I need to actually create like the material pods, like, so I'll do it offline, as they say. We should also speak about the wizards, wizards are the transgenders, like female to male, and it's related to all these issues. So this will also be discussed in the next video.